Are you looking to blow your biceps up and find the best bicep exercises to get those jacked arms, maybe even your forearms? This is going to be a video for you. Let's get to it. Hey there, Brandon Smitley here from Thirst Gym, and today I'm going to help walk you through the 4 best exercises to blow up your arms and your biceps. But before we get started, we're going to talk about some bicep anatomy really quick, because knowing the anatomy can help us select better exercises and maximize our hypertrophy for our biceps. Now, there are going to be 3 primary muscles that we're trying to attack here in the biceps family. The first is going to be the biceps brachii, and it's kind of a part A and part B, because as the biceps, as we kind of hear it said, bi meaning 2, there's going to be 2 heads. There's going to be the short and the long head. The short head is more on the inner part of your biceps. That's going to be what most people would think of as giving that big density that you can see as you perform that front bicep pose. And so again, that's obviously going to flex our arm up, but it also does a little bit of supination as well, which is why it's great to have your palms towards you or continue to supinate while you do an exercise. That's going to let you get a better contraction here. It can also perform some adduction and bring that arm towards the midline or towards our body, which we can know can help us focus on that as well by keeping our arms in if we do direct bicep work. We also have the long head, which is more on the outside aspect of it. And again, that still does the forearm flexion that we want. It does do a little bit of abduction, so getting it away from the body, but generally speaking, you're not going to have to think about that a whole lot, but really just knowing there's 2 primary bicep heads here, and they can cross that shoulder joint, and that can help provide us some stability as well. So usually people that have an anterior shoulder issue, doing some bicep work, especially getting some flexion, some shoulder flexion here since they do cross that joint, will also help aid some shoulder stability. Not something that you want to primarily go after, but if you're feeling that achiness in the front part of your shoulder, I've been there, these are exercises that can really help you on that front. The next is going to be the brachialis, which is a big bicep muscle down here deep within the belly. And so if you would do a bicep pose, but from the back, if you had a nice, big, thick, lean body, you'd be able to see that brachialis on the outside. You'll see it in a lot of pro bodybuilders. And it is just responsible primarily for that flexion. It can do some supination and pronation as well, but that's going to be a big primary flexor of the elbow. So we want to make sure that we attack that, because that's going to give your biceps and your arms that dense, full looking feel, because if that's big and then your biceps brachii are on top of it, it's going to maximize your bicep look. And the final one's going to be the brachioradialis, which is really what I would consider more of a forearm musculature, but it does cross the elbow joint. It is going to help us with that flexion. Usually you're going to see that in like hammer curls or a neutral grip, but it is also going to put a lot of density in that forearm. And by having a big brachioradialis, got this from John Meadows, that if you have a big quality brachioradialis, it's not only going to make your arm look bigger, but it's going to help you get a fuller look throughout your whole arm training. So knowing that anatomy, that's going to let us now pick the exercises that we want to be able to maximize growing all 3 of these muscles so that you can fill that shirt out. And if you don't have a shirt on, then you can just look better in a tank top, I guess. All right, the first exercise that I like here is the seated incline dumbbell bicep curl. Now, the reason this exercise works great for blowing up your biceps is, one, we're going to be in a huge range of motion. So as I lay back here with my palms up, you can notice I've got a big stretch on that bicep brachii. Remember, it crosses the shoulder joint, so being in this big range of motion is going to give us a big full range of motion to be able to form the contraction. And then having my hands supinated, then I can curl up and then come back down. I would recommend keeping your head back if you can, and you're going to feel that stretch better in your biceps as you're going to come up. You can also start more in a neutral grip and supinate if you wish as well, and you can even do a little bit of shoulder flexion to try to maximize that contraction in the bicep brachii. And if you go with that neutral grip, you're also going to get some of that brachioradialis that we talked about as well. That's going to give you that good quality stretch. Now, if you are lacking mobility, this might actually kind of pull a little bit. So this would be an exercise I don't recommend that you just go grab the heaviest dumbbells that you can. This is going to be a great almost like warm up into your bicep work to open everything up, get a good quality full range of motion like we talked about, and a good quality squeeze, and you can still train all those bicep musculature all in one movement. You can also put this at the end, so after you've done all the bicep work that we're kind of talking about, you could do this at the end to stretch everything out. You've got your biceps blowing up, feeling that good stretch, and the contraction can then also maximize some hypertrophy there as well. So how many sets and reps here that you do is going to be kind of up to you. 2 to 5 sets of, 8 to 15 repetitions, depending on where you've got it placed. This is going to be more of a size-based exercise, not something you're going to hammer on for strength, so to speak, just because you are in that big range of motion. It's not going to maximize the amount of loads that we can use, but it is going to maximize the hypertrophy that we can get out of our bicep musculature. All right, the next exercise I love for bicep development is going to be the chin up. And while this is going to also obviously build our lats and our back, being in a supinated position, starting in that flex position, pulling our body up to the chin is going to give us a good quality bicep contraction here as well. So we're going to make sure we're using that bicep brachii here also. But we're also going to use the brachialis more so in a pull-up if you choose to go that route. But I really like the chin-up. It's going to be the better developer of the biceps. This being a big quality compound movement, this is the one you want to do heavy. So you're just going to have your hands facing you around shoulder width, maybe slightly wider. Grip that barbell hard all the way up and control. Really trying to make sure you can get your chest towards that bar as close as you possibly can as you're doing those reps, because that's going to let us load up those biceps as well with our lats. So again, I like heavy chin-ups, so 5, 6, 8 repetitions. There's gonna be plenty to blow them up, 4 to 5 sets. If you're strong enough to add weight, definitely do so. Perform some drop sets to get some extra volume. That works great as well. But I do think chin-up should be a mainstay in your training program if you're looking to build bigger arm size. Plus you get the added benefit of the extra back size, which is just gonna make you look more jacked anyways. All right, the next exercise I love in line is the reverse grip barbell bicep curl. In particular, if you can use it with a fat bar or fat grips, you're gonna get some added forearm grip strength there as well. I got my awesome zigzag bar here that's in a fat grip. Now this works great because we're gonna focus primarily on that brachioradialis and the brachialis. We're actually going to take the bicep brachii out of the equation. By being pronated here, I'm not going to be in that supinated position. So now I'm just going to be focusing right here at the meat of my elbow. And I'm going to, like I mentioned, I'm going to get the added grip strength down here in this part of my forearms as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab the barbell here, walk out, lean forward just a little bit. Nothing wrong with just doing them here, that's okay. But if you lean forward just a little bit, you're gonna get a better contraction in this position here. And it's also gonna limit the amount of weight you can do, which is kind of okay. But we're just gonna come here in a good quality position. So this barbell is shaped differently. You can grab it in different ways, but if you just have a regular fat bar, put your hands where they're comfortable. But we really wanna make sure that we're trying to squeeze the brachialis as we feel it. I can feel them working just with this empty barbell here. Really trying to make sure I come all the way up and all the way down, getting that stretch position in the bottom. Again, if I lean back, again, nothing wrong with it. So making sure I'm coming all the way up. That lean forward, I can feel a better squeeze here because of the mechanics. Now, it's going to depend upon what kind of bar you have access to and all that kind of stuff in terms of how you might load this, because your forearms may be a limiting factor, which is, hey, a hint that you probably need some grip work. But I really like this because we're in this position here. So this is going to not only develop that grip strength that we talked about, but anytime you're having to pull limbs in, so think MMA, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, anything like that where you're having to grab and pull things in, this is going to be a great way to develop those forearms and those arm or elbow flexors. So this works great more in that like 3 to 5 sets of anywhere from 6 to 12 reps. You can load this bad boy up if you can hold on to it. You can also just create a nasty pump here as well. But this is one of my go-to exercises, just building massive forearms and ultimately your biceps and your arm just looking massive, because you're going to get that musculature trained in isolation that you're maybe not get quite as much because the bicep brachii might be taking over doing the rest of your arm flexion in those other exercises we talked about. All right, the final exercise we're going to talk about here, one of my go-to bicep and forearm builders is going to be the Zapman Curl. I've called it the Zapman Curl as well, but it's going to use dumbbells, and we're going to be able to train all 4 aspects of the bicep. So the short, the long head, the brachialis, and the bicep brachialis, all in one exercise. So we're going to start with our normal dumbbell curl as we come up and get a good squeeze. We're then going to rotate down, control in this position. So curl up, flip, and down. So we're getting those bicep brachii, getting a good quality squeeze here. We're getting the rotation at the wrist, which is going to help us at the elbow, and then we're going to go down and control that eccentric as we're doing the exercise. We want to make sure that we're controlling that every single time. We're really trying to treat it like a robot as we're flipping, turning, and going with each exercise. I can feel my arms working a lot with this exercise, and it's really starting to add up. So as a catch-all exercise, we can get the full bicep development from this exercise alone. So if you really want to attack your grip, you can throw some fat grips on there as well. Grip force trainers, what have you, and you can really blow your forearms up even here more as you need to. But again, what I like about this, it's going to give us that supination, it's going to give us the pronation, it's going to give us the control eccentric. Brachialis and bicep brachialis are getting a lot of work, especially in that eccentric position, and we're just going to continue to go through that back and forth. Really like this, again, for 3 to 6 sets, about 6 to 12 reps. Ideally, this probably needs to be somewhere in your bicep, forearm, arm kind of training repertoire more times than not. You really want to be intentional with how you're performing the exercise. You just don't want to do this over and over. Really get on those good squeezes, control the eccentric, control it all the way down so you can feel it through your forearms all the way down that brachiobrachialis as we mentioned. And then as you go to supinate, you'll really start to feel the contraction that you're getting in your biceps. So this is the go-to exercise for me for arm and forearm development. Let's wrap things up. All right, that wraps up today's video on building massive biceps. And we talked about 4 exercises that I really love. They're not really in any particular order. I saved the best for last with the Zapman Curl. The other ones I can kind of understand. I really am a big fan of the seated incline dumbbell bicep curl as well. I see that in many of my training programs that I'm writing, also getting that good lengthened position. But I would make sure that, one of these 4 exercises almost always in your arm care based training programs is going to work no matter how you kind of implement it. But I do find myself using this a lot, even with athletes as well. If we need to get stronger forearms, get a stronger grip, get stronger biceps to be able to hold positions like a football, or we talked about rowing, or maintaining locked positions in wrestling. If you happen to having shoulder issues, doing supinated based work, again, can be great to develop that bicep brachii and help prevent any kind of bicep issues up here at the shoulder joint. All lots of great things that you can benefit from. So if you happen to enjoy today's video, do me a favor, hit that like button, leave me a comment, let me know, subscribe, share with a friend. I would really appreciate it, and I'll see you at the next video.